Right, welcome everyone to another episode of the N.E.S.T podcast. I really appreciate you guys being here, and before we dive into it really quick, I just want to say a few shout outs to Lauren Arbour, Vaz. Thank you guys for dropping me suggestions. Also thank you to Jack Clark at Hercules _ HERCXLES _ Just thought I'd quickly throw that out there. Instead of the U, you put X. So thank you guys for suggesting a few episodes. Really appreciate it. Now, just wanted to throw this out there that anyone who shares the podcast, I'll be giving you guys a shout out. Anyone who has any suggestions for the podcast, please feel free to let me know either by DM on Instagram or YouTube, and I'll be giving you guys a shout out in the next episode of the podcast. With that being said, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome everyone to another episode of the N.E.S.T podcast. Newly revamped, advertised, I guess. Don't really know what the reimagined. Let's go with reimagined. I like that word. So newly reimagined the N.E.S.T podcast. So we've changed it from the top bunk now to the N.E.S.T. A few changes that I just quickly need to run through. So I am now taking over the podcast solo, which means everyone who joined Stuart, I know you're one of them. I know you loved having Bryn on. However, it will now be solo me on the podcast. And again, as I said last week, so this is going to be different. It's going to be more sport orientated, a lot more exercise, sport, nutrition, training, that kind of stuff. So anyone who is into that, I'll quickly fix the camera. Anyone who is into that, this is the podcast for you. And of course, this is always backed up by science. I do all the research myself. Don't use anything else other than Google Scholar or NCBI. So you know that all the information you're getting is like I've researched it, I've looked into it, and those studies have been published, reviewed, all that kind of jazz. So you're getting something good out of this. Now, we've gotten over that. Let's quickly touch over what today's subject's going to be. So, you hear all the time that, you shouldn't. Gyms don't allow it. Parents normally tend not to allow it. You hear a lot of times where kids are not allowed to exercise gym-wise under the age of 16. Now, why is that? Why is there this stigma that exercising or going to the gym under the age of 16 will hurt you or stunt your growth as such? To be quite frank with you, I don't really know why. I don't know where this came from. I believe there might have been like a couple of studies done on it or something like that, or I don't know where the myth comes from. And there's a little spoiler for you, it is a myth. So let's quickly get into this whole, what is a growth stunt? What is stunting your growth? What does this translate to? What does it mean? So on the bone, you've got something called the epiphyseal part of the bone. There we go. EPIPHYSEAL. Epiphyseal part of the bone. And that is the top of the bone. So if I was to give you, so let's say your femur, which is the upper leg, the part where your knee is, or the part where your hip is, on that bone, that is the epithelial. And that part of the bone is basically, that is where the growth happens. It's called the growth plate. Now, the growth plate, should that get damaged, or fractured or whatever, and it seals, then that is where growth stunting happens. So let's just say, for example, you've got two bones, identical, so you've got both femurs. One of them suffers a fracture on the growth plate, the other one doesn't. Because of the fracture, obviously the calcium will go over there, it will solidify the bone. That's putting it really simply, but that's like, imagine this like milk silking into the bone, and fixing it. And when that happens, it solidifies it, so it allows no more room for extra bone to be produced, right? That is now solidified onto the main part of the bone. So that's what growth stunting is, okay? It's basically just someone breaking the top of their femur and the bone fixing properly, and then not allowing it to grow further. Now this could cause some deformity. So let's say if your right femur fractures but your left one doesn't, you will end up with a longer left femur, which could look a little bit dodgy, a little bit sketchy, but that's fine. Now, why is it that this only happens in kids? Okay, that's probably a question going through a lot of you. Is obviously we both have those bones. We both have the same side of the bones. It's not like all of a sudden when you get past 16, your femur is not attached to your hip or your knee. It still is. So what is the difference? So when you're a child, you have what's called an open physial plate, which is where that, as I said, where that kind of extends into more bone, if that makes sense. So if I was to put this into perspective, imagine having a tree. Okay, so you're having a tree. The main bark grows upwards. Now imagine putting something on top of that tree to stop it from growing. Okay, that's what that fracture would do. It would just stop it from growing. And when you get to a certain age where your bones no longer grow, so this is when this official, this is where your growth stops. Your growth in terms of your bone sizing, your height, whatever, it stops when the physial plates close as such. So that's why should an adult break their physial plate or their growth plate, it won't be a big deal. For us. For kids it would be, because again, seals it, stops it from growing, that kind of thing. So let's just quickly, from this little introduction, let's just take a few takeaway points. Damage happens to the epiphyseal part of the bone, or also known as the physial plate or the growth plate. And should that happen, deformity can occur. Now, let me quickly say a few things. Higher chances of fractures occur when torque is, so I believe it was where extreme torque is placed on the bone, if that makes sense. We'll go into it a little bit later. However, it tends to mean that things such as gymnastics are actually a lot higher risk to get this than going to the gym. So sports which involve repetitive impact and torque. So let's just say, for example, gymnastics, impact, obviously, when you are doing a triple somersault and you land, your feet are hitting the ground really hard. Now, let's say the top of your tibia breaks. Fibula. Yeah, the top of your tib breaks. That is going to be a growth plate injury, especially if you're under that age where your bones are still growing. But that's a different study. We're going to go into the studies now. So I jumped a little bit ahead of myself, but I just thought I'd throw that out there for anyone who is who's interested in that. So got 3 studies here. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've got 4. I looked into the 5th, but it did not state anything about fractures or anything about like growth stunts. It just had a look at how exercise positively affects children, which, spoiler alert, it really positively affects them. Just yeeting that out there, throwing that out there. So, study number 1, let's go in chronological order. We have Dahab in 2009. Okay, so this is the study actually that I was just talking about. So sports which involve repetitive, high impact and higher torque pose a greater epiphyseal injury risk. So gymnastics or baseball. Now you might be thinking, why baseball? What the hell is that all about? Honestly, I don't know where torque comes into baseball. I think it may be on the pitching side of things. I don't think it would be on the batting, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that. I might have to just go read up a little bit on it. However, this looked at again the benefits of exercise and specifically resistance training. So all of these studies look at resistance training. This is a very important thing to say, as a lot of people, I don't want people to be like, oh, well, you just looked at exercise in general, and obviously exercise is always good. No, this is resistance training. Gym equipment, resistance, weight, stuff, weight-related shenanigans. So, what did they see? So, big one here. All right, this is a massive one because it kind of completely trumps the idea of the whole bone growth stunting crap. There's something called a mineral density in your bones, and that is basically the obviously density, very important word there. So it is, mineral density of your bones is directly related to the thickness of them, which will also mean the resilience of them. So let's say if you're, I don't know, man, if you have a bone, right, if you imagine a bone, again, let's go back to that tree bark. If you imagine the tree bark and it's fully filled up inside, right, every single ounce is full of just tree. I know it sounds really weird, but bear with me here. It's going to be a pretty goddamn tough tree, right? It's not going to break easily. You're going to have to hit it hard with a few times with a decent axe. If you've got a tree bark that has holes inside, that has gaps, that's got this and that and the other, imagine a dry stick, a dry twig. Now imagine trying to break that with an axe. You don't really need one. You just kind of grab it between your fingers, do a little click, and it's gone. So bone mineral density is the tree inside of your bones. So it's how dense your bones are, how much stuff is in your bone, which again will increase their strength, increase their resilience, less fractures, which, you know, we all love a good fracture when it doesn't happen, because we don't want that, because that will hurt us. But increase in bone mineral density, therefore decreasing the risk of fractures indirectly. Can I just point that out? Indirectly decreasing it. They found no direct correlation between resistance training and occurrence or severity of injuries. So when children were doing resistance training, they did not actually find any form of raise in occurrence or raise in severity of any of the injuries that happened. And actually, anyone here who plays sport and who does some form of, you know, if you study physiotherapy or whatever, you will know this, and you will know that this is very important. Prehab, okay? Prehabilitation. Everyone knows about rehabilitation, but prehabilitation is actually a lot more important than rehabilitation. So prehabilitation is, so let's take, for example, who was it? Someone who tore their Achilles. Let's just go for a basketball player, right? Basketball player jumps up, lands back down, and as they land, they snap their Achilles, right? Probably the worst tendon that you could ever possibly snap. Largest, I think it's the thickest tendon in the body. So how could he have possibly avoided snapping that tendon? So the way that tendons snap is when the muscles cannot take a lot of the load. Okay, so if a muscle can't take the load of the certain activity, right, and it's specifically the load it's the load over a certain period of time. If I was to put my hand on you, right, to put my hand on your stomach right now and push in slowly, you would feel that, you tense up your stomach, and you would be able to take that. If I was to get Conor McGregor to put the same force as I did, but at speed, that would probably hurt you a lot more. So that is exactly what happens to your tendons. The speed is too quick for your muscles to react. Your tendons then have to handle that stress, and it's not shared out equally between. Tendons go snap. And that is how you get tendon damage, muscle tears, that kind of stuff. So prehab will pretty much increase the strength of that muscle. So let's say in this case, the gastrocnemius, it will increase the resilience of that muscle, the strength, which means that, let's say if that guy was to jump up again and fall back down, if he had a little bit of extra training or extra strength, let's say even 10 to 15 to 20% more, that would have made a fairly big difference. 20% is a large bunch. So increase in bone mineral density, no direct correlation between resistance training and injuries at all. And then prehab, obviously, resistance training is good for prehab. Now, next study. We go to 2015 and Radovanović. Here we go. Radovanović in 2015. Now, this was... so this guy, basically, he took a lot of papers. He looked at what are the most popular myths and then said what paper related to which one, and he then kind of debunked them. Again, I will leave... Those of you watching on YouTube, those of you watching on anything else, I will leave all of the studies that I have found in the YouTube, not comment box, in the little caption thingy majiggy, the box underneath what you're watching now. All right, just refer to that bloody box, man. Jeez. So, myth number 1. And I only did a few of these because he had like 5 or 6, and I was just sat there like, this is going to drag it out a little bit too much. And most of them, I'm not going to lie to you, were not really that good for this topic. So, myth number 1. Resistance training is unhealthy for the youth. Now, what are the facts about this? It increases... it has a potential increase for motor performance. Now, those who do not know what motor performance is he didn't specify if it's motor neurons, but I would presume that is what he is saying. Motor neurons are basically just the neurons that allow you to basically kind of move around. I don't think there's any easier way of putting that, to be honest. Motor neurons are basically the neurons that will allow your muscle to contract. Obviously, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Signal gets sent up to the brain. Brain sends signal to arm saying move. Arm moves. Now, again, bone mineral density increased again. Surprise, surprise. That's 2 studies that actually have bone mineral density in them, and it shows an increase. So this is good. This is good. Number 2 studies that show bone mineral density increase, and it actually improves body composition. Now, anyone who goes to the gym, you don't need me to tell you this. It does increase your body composition. It does improve your body composition. You don't need me to tell you this. You know it. You go and you work out. You increase the amount of muscle you have. You decrease the amount of fat. Indirectly, obviously, you increase your metabolic rate. So, yeah. Children do not have enough testosterone to be gaining strength, to be having strength gains. Now, here's a fun fact. Testosterone is not essential for strength. It is pretty important for size, but it's not really important for strength. And now, they found out that in short-term programs, short-term being anything between 8 to 20 weeks. Now, for us, 20 weeks may not be that long, but in terms of studies that go on for years and 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 years, aka longitudinal studies, that is fairly short term. Okay, what's that? That's 5 months, give or take. So they saw that resistance training programs between 8 and 20 weeks expected strength progress to be at 30% more. So strength progress at 30%. That is mad. So if I was benching 100 kilos when I was 15, when I was like 10, and this Johnny came over and was like, hey, have a resistance program, make you 30% stronger, I'd be benching 130 kilos in 6 months after. Like, can we just, what? 30%? 30%? That is an increase and a half. Like, fuck. Hell, I can't even get 30% right now. Anyway, so basically what this is saying is testosterone, like, don't get me wrong, obviously if you're 8 years old, your testosterone levels are not exactly going to be there. But if you're like 14, 15, 16, your testosterone's starting to kick in, bro. Like, you're starting to, your voice is starting to drop. Your is starting to get a little bit excited. we've all been there, all right? We all wanted to look jack for the ladies, because when you're a little horny 14-year-old, I'm telling you, nothing better than be swaddled. So I wouldn't know. I was like a little skinny fat kid back in like year 8, 9, and 10. So we'll skip over that, but it's fine. And obviously the last one, it will stunt growth. So there is no physiological arguments nor research that has shown this to be true. So this guy here has done clearly a crap ton of studying. I think he had like 20 different papers referenced at the end of the page, which was amazing. Like, it really makes me happy when I see people referencing properly, and like genuinely those papers being properly correct. It's great. It gets me going. It makes me sleep well at night. So there's no physiological arguments or research to show that it will stunt your growth. Therefore, if there's no physiological research for it, then guess what? Considering there is this much research being done on children and weightlifting, it must be bullshit. But you know what? For the mum, I'm sorry, but for the Karens in here, let's keep going. All right, got 2 studies, got 2 more to go, and then we've got a massive fucking conclusion. Like, this is basically like my weekly essay, right? Like, as a uni student, this is basically my weekly essay. It's great. So Myers 2017. Most injuries occur. So again, these guys looked at children resistance training. Really good study. So they looked at most injuries occur due to improper form, and this is very important. So I had a debate the other day. That, you know, you kind of, when you do these kind of studies, you take the 1%, and you kind of stick a person with them, and you say, you know what, this is how to do it, and I'm going to check everything. And you know what, in the real world, that is not the case. You do not have someone over your head 24/7 saying you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you need to improve this, you need to improve that. But I'll tell you what you do have. In most gyms, okay, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone goes to a gym that did not ask you for an induction, drop a plate on your foot and sue them, because you can do that. If you go to any gym, you will most likely get an induction, and there will most likely, at some point during the day, I don't care when, at some point during the day, there will be someone in there that is a qualified professional, at least level 2, fitness instructor, who will tell you, who can tell you, and who fucking should tell you if you're doing something wrong. I've seen so many people turning into cats that have just seen a massive dog while deadlifting, and it terrifies the shit out of me. And I turn around to him and I say, look, mate, like, in most respect, like, with all due respect, from a person who works here to a customer, please change the way you are doing this. I don't say that exactly, but I will say something along the lines of, look, you might injure yourself doing this. Consider dropping your hips, like pushing your back in, not arching your back, whatever. Whatever the coaching point is, I will tell them that. Now, gym owners, please make sure that your people do this. Why? Because if they don't, and someone fucks their back up, it's not on them, it is on you, because you did not do your feckin' job. Alright? I'm not being rude, I'm just being honest. Plus, can I just point out, like, you know, when kids are doing something stupid, like, you know, yeah, I get it, like, you know, you want to go in there, you want to have some fun with your mates, but at the end of the day, if I saw the other day, like, there was a kids session before all this COVID shit happened. There was a kids session, and this kid was just put the lat pull down on the maximum amount and started swinging it for it like it was a fucking monkey bar. I was like, dude, you need, like, please, like, you know, I get it, it's funny, like, I get it, I really do, because when I was like 8, I used to swing off trees as well. So, you know, you've got a gym, I had a tree, so kind of you're winning. But please stop. I don't mean to shit on your parade, but please stop. Otherwise, you're going to injure yourself, and then I'm going to have to come help you. And I'm also going to have to tell you I told you so. And no one likes being told I told you so, including me. And I also hate to be the one saying it most times, but it's not like, just fuck it, like, just stop, man. And if you're unsure about something in the gym, someone actually came into my TikTok live the other day, and they said, look, I'm just going to start resistance training soon. Can you give me a few tips? And the last tip that I said, and this is by far the most important one ever, is if you're unsure about anything, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's how the hell to adjust the seat on a piece of resistance equipment. Go to your gym instructor and fucking ask them. Because that will save your ass. It will save the NHS money when you decide to fucking sprain something or strain something. And for the love of God, like, it's for your own safety. We're, like, people in the gym are there for you. So please, for the love of Christ, Mary, Joseph, the Holy Ghost, whatever, for, like, Allah, whatever religion you're in, for the love of your God, please tell people if you are unsure about something, because I will fuck you up if you don't. Anyway, moving on from that. So we you know, improper form, bad. No, fix it. Let's move on from that, because I'm getting a little bit too triggered, and you know, no one likes a triggered Alex. So experts say that resistance training. So after looking at all of this, they looked at, like, resistance training among children. They came up with that. Experts say that resistance training is not inherently harmful. Now, what does inherently mean? That means that on its own, it's not helpful. It's only when it's paired up with a fucking stupid mind, only then will it become harmful and dangerous. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be the stupid mind. I don't want you to be stupid. Your mum doesn't want you to be stupid. Your nan doesn't want you to be stupid. Your dog doesn't. They probably want you to send this podcast to a friend if you enjoyed it, or share on your Instagram story. Love that. Anyway, shameless little self-promo in there, but hey, let's move on. But for real, if you guys are enjoying it, then, you know, feel free to name drop us. Yeah, so what were the pros of this experiment, right, of this study? Actually, quite a few. Guess what's up there? Bone mineral density. So we got bone mineral density increased, strength increased. Again, as we saw earlier, 30% chance, or 30% progress expected within 8 to 20 weeks. Now, just saying, guys, if you're gonna, like, you know, boys, if you're gonna go to the gym and you are, like, within the, you know, below 16, basically, please don't take this 30% as a 100% chance that you will get bigger by 30%. This is, number one, it's strength, it's not size, and number two, everyone responds differently to exercise. That is the most important takeaway to take from today. You will, if I went and stood next to Arnold Schwarzenegger, I don't care if we were both 18, if I stood next to him and we both did a bench press, I don't care who was on gear by that point. Anyway, regardless, if he wasn't on gear, his body would adapt a lot better than mine would. Okay, but why? Because his genetics are like they're up here, man. I can't compete with that. So, yeah, it's just, you know, let's just quickly throw that out there for any 14-year-olds who may be watching. Now, I'm about to say something which is a little bit sciencey, and if you don't understand, don't worry. I'll hold your hand and I'll guide you through it. You know why? Because I'm your friend. But most importantly, I'm just a random bloke sitting in his room with a microphone in front of him. So, it increased tendon cross-sectional area. Now, what does this mean to anyone who doesn't know what a cross-sectional area is? Imagine if you, let's just look at your Achilles tendon, right? If you were to sit cross-legged, right, and you were to cut your Achilles tendon, right, it would be, basically, I can't really explain this over the microphone. You have to be looking at me to understand. So, cross-sectional area, you cut the muscle in half, or the tendon or whatever, and you look at it from the side that you've cut it on. Okay, so it's basically the thickness. So, increased cross-sectional area means it increased the thickness of the tendons. Now, what does this mean? This is incredible to hear, by the way, because this links really well back to prehab. So this is where you're seeing how things work. So it increases tendon thickness, which means that it can also take more take more of a load, which means reduced injuries, which means no growth stunting. Amazing, right? Love to see it. You love to see it. And finally, last two, increased musculature and increased self-esteem. Now, I will get onto the self-esteem a little bit later, because this is also a very important one. Now, let's just go on to the last study. Okay, last study. I know everyone's really sad that it's the last study, but you know, all good things must come to an end, unfortunately. So, I'm going to try and say this without laughing. Cochrane. I don't know if it's Cochrane, but it's spelled Cochran. YouTube, I lost you again for a minute. There we go. You're back on. So Cochrane, Cochran. I don't know if it's Cochrane. I don't know if it's Cochrane. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Cochrane because it sounds a lot funnier. So Mr. Cochrane, or I can't remember if it was a male or female. So they found out. All right. So they found out basically. Really recent one, obviously 2020, amazing and incredible. So they found out performance-wise. These are the benefits that they saw. Where have I put my bag, because I'm a little bit thirsty and my mouth's getting a little bit dry, but oh well. So performance-wise, rubbing my hands for anyone who couldn't see that and just heard a loud clap and a rubbing. Increased strength, again, we love to see that. Increased power output. Strength, power, different things. Really quickly, just to explain what power is and what strength is. So strength is literally just how strong you are, what you can lift. Power is more explosive. All right, so velocity times strength is equal to power. All right. Anyway, that gone out of the way. It increased running velocity. Yeah, I know. I had the exact same thought. Obviously, this will depend on what kind of strength training you do. But running velocity, if you do a lot of legs, which I fucking expect you to do, don't skip out on legs. Swear to Christ, if you skip out on legs, I'm gonna skip out on you. With a skipping rope, and I'm gonna whip you. That's what I mean. Anyway, running velocity increased. Agility and motor performance also increased. Now, agility. Most people will know what this is. If you don't know what agility means, it's basically you can turn directions. Okay, so you're running. So let's say I'll give you an example, right? You're running in American football or in rugby, or even in football. Okay, you run with any form of sport that you're carrying a ball, right? You're running. Someone, a defender, all of a sudden pops out in front of you. They just go out the ground like that, just shot right in front of you. Be like, yo. I'm about to tackle you. You know what's coming, don't you? The best thing that you can do is to cut out of their way. Okay, so if they're gonna tackle you, you quickly roll the ball to your right, dribble the ball, yeet yourself to right, whatever. That is agility. Okay, so the ability to change direction rapidly. And motor performance, again, going back to what we were saying earlier. Now, that's performance side of things. But Cochrane did not want to stop there. No. Wasn't done. We're now looking into injury prevention as well. And guess what happened? Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Bone mineral density increased. So we now actually have 4 studies, right, that tell us that. 4 out of 4 tell us that we have bone mineral density increased. So this bone mineral density, this is in this case, this is 100%. Like at this point, it's very, very consistent, which means that bone mineral density, likelihood is it will increase when you start exercising. It's not sketchy. It's not like 1 in 4. Nope. 4 out of 4 studies have concluded it, which is amazing. Increased resilience of soft tissue. Again, that was cross-sectional area, but I just thought I'd chuck it in as resilience because, let's be fair, tendons thicker, can handle more. Now, here's the really interesting part, and this part got me because I didn't know how to feel about this, but they found that it may actually decrease overall injury risk by and hold your chairs for this. Get a glass, get something to hold yourself, brace yourself. By 68%. They reckon that resistance training can actually decrease overall injury risk by 68%. That's a big number. That's a fucking big number. We're not talking about any like 10, 15. No, we're talking 68, nearly 70%. That's a really big number. And overuse injuries by 50%. What are overuse injuries? Overuse injuries would be like, let's say, a pulled hammy in football, right? Hamstrings are probably the number one thing to go. You've been running for 90 minutes. Your body decides, bro, like, I can't keep up with you right now. You do that every week. You do that every day. If you're training, it will get overused. At one point, the body does turn around and it say, bro, like, I need a chill. Like, I need a rest. I need a holiday. I haven't had a holiday for like 3 months. Like, you know what I mean? You've been chilling at night, and that's fine, but I'm growing at that time. I haven't had a holiday. I need a proper holiday. Like, kick my feet up, play some Warzone with the boys, land in Verdansk and get a couple of dubs. That kind of thing. So it may actually decrease overall injury risk by 68% and overuse injuries by 50%. Now, this is a may. Okay, this is a may. This is not 100%. They didn't even say that it does. They said it could possibly decrease it. So my guess is that there's going to need Alex words. There's more research. There we go. Here we go. I'm on it now. More research will be needed in this area to kind of verify, to solidify the evidence that they have found out. My God, man, I can't speak today. It's ridiculous. Okay. So cool, all good. We've looked at a few studies. Now, I actually got this question, and it's a really, really good question. They said, okay, well, in that case, Alex, if I can let my child, right, if I can let my child go to the gym, how old do they have to be? Like, what is the youngest age that they could go without causing injury? And I was like, you know what, Tina? Her name was not actually Tina. I cocked it up. It said Tiny Star. It was a comment on TikTok, but the name was Tiny Star. I remember you. Don't worry, I did call you Tina. I'm really sorry. It's not Tina, it was Tiny. So, Tiny. I just didn't make my situation any better, but sod it. So, Tiny, aka Tina. Benefits. Can I just point this out real quick? If a program is designed appropriately, and when I say appropriately, I mean to the skill, to the age of the individual. If you don't turn around to him and be like, right, I'm expecting you to do 4 sets of 8 on 100 kilos on the bench. If you turn around to him and you say, look, I get it, you're just starting. What we're going to do is we're going to go a few sets on the dumbbells, maybe 10 kilos, maybe 10 kilo dumbbells. And, we're going to increase it gradually, basic, proper PT, like good stuff. If the program's designed appropriately and there's no form of, not bullshit, but there's no harm that could come to that athlete, we're going to call the child athlete. Benefits can be shown as young as 5 to 6 years old. 5 to 6. And this is the whole lot. This is the resilience in soft tissue. This is the increased strength, increased power. Don't get me wrong, your child's not going to become the fucking Hulk in a year, all right, Janice, calm down. But 5 to 6 years old, to be in a gym, getting a pump on, looking filthy, like, veins popping, no, I'm joking. But 5 to 6 years old is kind of the time where you can probably start introducing a child into resistance training. And again, like, this will benefit a lot. Mums and dads out there, if you have a child who plays football, who plays any form of other contact sport, American football, rugby, I would seriously recommend you try and start implementing some form of resistance training, even if it is like band work. I'd really recommend it, because obviously, maybe not yet. Maybe your child is not at immediate risk, because let's be fair, if you're playing football at the age of like fucking 12, the chance of you getting an ACL injury is very small, or a ruptured Achilles tendon, or a ruptured tendon, or whatever. However, please do like introduce them to some form of resistance training, because as we said, it'll increase their bone density, which means that they will get fractures a lot harder. It will increase their resilience in terms of their soft tissue, their tendons, less likely to rupture, less likely to get a sprain, because after all, a sprain is basically a super micro fracture, if you will. Super micro rupture, if you will. At the end of the day, a sprain is literally just a little bit of the tendon. It's like the tiniest amount is just torn. So please, like, do if there's any doubt, if there's still any doubt in your mind at the moment, to whether you should or you shouldn't, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram, and I will send you research. I'll send you, like, fucking just ask me whatever you want, and I will try my best to help you out. Because it won't harm your kid, it will do the complete opposite. It will actually help out. And you know, this, in this day and age where you've got, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, like my brother, he's 17, and he's played with some pretty rough teams out there, right? He's fractured his bones twice. I think he's ruptured both of his arms playing football, funny enough. So luckily it wasn't a growth plate injury, it was in the middle here, in the middle of the forearm. But you know, if there's any doubt in your mind, then please reach out to me. I'll be very happy to, you know, give you a little bit of a hand in terms of whether, you know, you want to design the program or whatever. If you want more information on how it would help, or if there's any doubt in your mind, anything like that, then, you know, again, as I said, please do reach out. Now, I really wanted to get back to this, because this, I feel, is a very big aspect of this. So this gonna work as the conclusion part of the podcast. All right, it's a little bit early for a conclusion, but bear with me. So, conclusion: resistance training does not pose any direct threat to health unless performed wrong. Okay, so unless you go and you start flinging your, like, I don't know, if you start overloading a clean and you try and clean it, obviously it's gonna come on top of you. It's gonna come crashing down, like, badly. So, you know, again, please do consult a professional when you first start going to the gym. If you're unsure about anything, again, I cannot stress this enough. Please ask someone. I don't care if you're going to feel stupid. No question is stupid. Okay, and I know this is thrown around a lot, but honestly, no question is stupid when it comes to your safety. What are the benefits of resistance training at a younger age? So, number one, bone mass density. We've covered this time and time again, obviously. 4 studies have proved it. Power output and strength output, again. Tendon cross-sectional areas, again, resilience. So, your tendons grow larger, they can take more of a load. Increased musculature. Obviously, this is going to be expected with resistance training. Increased musculature is probably one of the main reasons why people go to the gym. However, if you're on that age, like below 16, I wouldn't recommend you go for musculature. I'd recommend you go for strength, for health, for performance in general. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. Self-esteem as well as better body composition. Now, these last two are what I really want to touch on. Okay, so self-esteem. I cannot stress how important this is. So growing up, and this is going to get deep. Growing up, I was at what you would call skinny fat, which means that I wasn't big, I wasn't hench, I wasn't skinny. I wasn't like a twig. I was skinny fat, which means I was pretty average. However, I held a lot of fat around my stomach and my legs. I remember this, because the reason is, if you're skinny and you don't have abs, there's visceral and subcutaneous fat, specifically subcutaneous if you just can't see abs. But anyway, we'll get to that point further down the line in the podcast series. So I was always like skinny fat, which means, again, skinny, but you can't see abs, you can't see definition of muscles, nothing like that. And I also have a massive birthmark, right, on my left, like, pec. And both of those created massive, like, insecurity issues when I was younger. So when I was in PE change rooms, I used to be one of the first people to get changed, because I was like, the quicker I do it, the less people are going to see, which is, fucking, yeah, cool, amazing. Don't care a lot about it now. But where I'm going with this is that 10%, right? And this is a big statistic. Like I was shit scared of when I first read this. 10% of children between the ages of 5 and 16 have clinically diagnosable mental health issues. Now, whether that is depression, whether that is anxiety, whether that is ADHD, whatever, they have got like mental health issues. And you know what? The gym will help them, not just because of the self-esteem. Self-esteem will really help in terms of if they're, really anxious about their body in public. Well, as I said, like, let's say changing for PE or something like that. Or, like, it will help them. And I think that is why it's super important that my gym does a bloody good job. As much as I slate them for it sometimes, they do a real, and as I said, like, sometimes as annoying kids are in the gym because they do stupid shit, the company that I work for does a really good job at letting children in. So from 11 until 15, there's like 3 hours to 4 hours a day during the week where they can come in, they can work out, and during the weekends they can come in with their parents. That is super important because it puts them in that lifestyle of getting fit, having exercise. It's like at this point, and this is the second part of what I'm going to be saying. So better body composition. Obviously, everyone wants to look better. Why should you get better body composition? Well, I'll give you three. Well, so I'll give you like 5 words. Okay, let's just 6 words. Cancer, number 1. All right. Type 2 diabetes, that's another 3. And then we got the last, technically 2. I fit it into 3. Cardiovascular issues. I count cardiovascular as 2 different things. So, obesity is pretty much the last one. Obesity branches into every single one of these. So obesity can be is a massive cause at the moment. And I'll throw some statistics at you to show this. So people under 5 years old, right? We're talking about kids that are under 5 years old, for fuck's sake. 38.2 million. In the world, 38.2 million children under the age of 5 are overweight or fucking obese. Are you shitting me right now? 38.2 mil. That is a joke. Now, that doesn't strike home enough? Okay, cool. 340 million. Right? More than 340 million between the ages of 5 and 19 years old are obese or overweight. Right? That is 4.85% of the global population. Right? That is 4.85% of the global population. This is not a joke. I'm being 100% serious when I say this. 28.1% of the population aged between 0 and 14. Right? That leaves us with 1 in every 3.5 kids being overweight or obese. Right? 1 in every 3.5. Which is ridiculous. In my head, if this is what the future looks like, I don't want to be fucking part of it. Like, hell no. Please, for the love of God, right, parents, teach your children, right? Number one, what is a healthy meal? And if you do not know what a healthy meal is, ask someone at your local gym, at whatever. Find something on the internet. That you've got something called the internet, for fuck's sake. Use it. Teach your children what healthy meals are. Teach them, obesity takes up so much of the NHS. I can't remember. I heard this statistic back in first year of my first ever year of uni. This was 2 years ago, and I cannot remember it. Otherwise, I would say it. But it takes up so much money of the NHS. I'm pretty sure it's either the number one or number two. Pardon me. The number one or number two, biggest. The NHS is number one or number two biggest expenditure. That's where I'm trying to come at. So, body composition will ultimately increase self-esteem. Better body composition will ultimately increase self-esteem. And again, it goes back to that whole thing where health, at this point, if 2020 has shown you anything, it's shown you that health is important. Okay, health is one of the only things that we as individuals have that not everyone else does. Not many other people have their health in check. And this is the main point why I wanted to transition this podcast over to this, is because number one, I'm interested in it, but number two, so many people can benefit from hearing this information. And if you are one of those 3.5 that are obese, for the love of shit, do something about it, man. Or if you're a parent, stop failing your child. And I'm saying this with as much disrespect as I can to you. If your child is obese, you have failed them. I'm sorry, I don't want to be a dick, but someone has to say it. If you're letting your child be obese, you are failing them. And I'm sorry, but I do not respect you as a parent. Period. Get them to do something. Get them to go out for a walk with you. Get them to walk the dog. Not walk the dogs on their own when they're 5, but get them to do something with you. I don't care what that is. I don't care if that's going on a cycle every Sunday. Do something. And if you're that parent who will just turn around and be like, right, we're going to get McDonald's for dinner. No, get your ass in and cook. I get it. If they're 16, 17, 18, 19, that's understandable. You can teach them to cook. But if they're under 16 and you're coming home and they're obese and you're saying, all right, you know what, I can't be bothered, let's go get pizza, let's go get Mackey's. No. You get your ass in a fucking kitchen and you cook something. I don't give a shit if it's a chicken salad. Alright, chicken salads take as long to make as the chicken takes to fucking grill. And I know for a fact those things don't take more than 20 minutes, half an hour. You could put that shit in the grill while you're sat there watching TV. Make something substantially healthy for your child who may be overweight. If your child is not overweight and you're in the remaining 2.5%, my friend, you're doing a good job. Please keep it up, and don't let your child slip. Keep reminding them that exercising is important, because I feel like a lot of children, as soon as they leave school, as soon as PE stops being mandatory, they just kind of let go of it, and it's really heartbreaking to watch. And for me personally, as an exercise professional, as a fitness professional in general, and as a health professional, I do not like let's say if I'm walking down the street and an obese 16, 17, 18-year-old walks down, I'm just sat there I don't disrespect them, but I'm just sat there mate, you need to do something, because as I said, just before I finish this off, health is something that 2020 has really shown us that is so important. And I cannot stress this enough. Your health is the number one thing you have in this world health is the number one thing that can buy you the unbuyable. Having your health can buy you time. And time cannot be bought any other way. Your health is the number one thing maybe even healthcare. That can be argued, but health is the number one thing that will buy you time. And I don't care if you disagree with me, you cannot tell me that that is not true. A person who's got type 2 diabetes and is sat there stuffing their face with Monster Crunch will have a lot less time than someone who's just about to become type 2 diabetic, who gets their ass in the gym and starts exercising and controls their meals and gets back to healthy. And yes, anyone who is on the verge of becoming type 2 diabetic, you can go back to not having type 2. Just fun fact, alright, by the way, can I just throw that out there? It has been done. Obviously, don't get me wrong, there's a small window, but it can be done. So, health is the number one thing that can buy you the unbuyable. And I don't want to see more people die because of diabetes or because of cancer or because of obesity or because of coronary heart disease or atherosclerosis or whatever the hell you want to call it, or heart attacks. I'm sick and tired of this population basically giving up because it's easier to go out and get a fucking McDonald's than it is to make a 20-minute chicken salad. So I'm sorry that this took a little bit of a depressing end to the end of it, but these had to be stated. I had to put these across because people need to wake the hell up. And I think it's super important that people do wake the hell up and realize that we are not living in a joke. 2020, as I said, has shown this. We're not living in a joke. Anything can happen at any point, and you will be required to stay in your house for 6 months. Those 6 months is up to you whether you give your shit up or whether you actually ramp your shit up and you actually do something. You go out on walks. You don't stay inside the entire day. So, for the love of God, please, keep yourselves healthy. Keep yourself safe. Thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. And remember to share this on Instagram. I'll give you a shout out at the start of the next episode. So yeah, I appreciate it, everyone who tunes in, listens in. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to come here and listen to me ramble along. But this is me closing off that ramble. Thank you for joining. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you next week. We'll be covering a different topic. Again, any suggestions, feel free to drop me a DM. I'm more than happy to cover different things that you guys want me to cover. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next week. Have a good rest of your week. Have a good remainder of your Wednesday. And I'll see you guys next week.